Hello everyone, this is Rahul Malhotra from SFDC Stop, and in this video we are going to learn how we can perform an asynchronous callout using Lightning component, Apex continuation and HTTP callout framework, right? So in the last video what we did, we actually created a Visualforce page that was performing asynchronous callout to three different APIs and it was getting the data in the response. But in this video we are going to learn how we can perform the same stuff by using Lightning component, Apex continuation and HTTP callout framework. Okay, so just to give you an overview, asynchronous callouts are actually the callouts that are performed in a separate thread, or I can say that these callouts are performed in a separate process so that your actual work is not affected, right? Salesforce has given us the continuation class that we can use to perform asynchronous callouts, but the only consideration regarding that continuation class is that the callout should either be initiated from a Lightning component or it should be initiated from a Visualforce page, right? So I can show you the Visualforce page that we created in the last tutorial. So what this Visualforce page was doing, it was actually performing a callout on click of this button. So as I click the send request button, it is actually going to perform three different callouts to three different APIs. And by using the continuation class, it is performed asynchronously, and we are getting the data in the response, as you can see here, right? So in this video, what we are going to do, we are going to perform the same stuff by using a Lightning component. Okay, so let's have a look at a Lightning component and let's see how it is doing. But before that, I'm going to explain you the three APIs that we are going to call. So this is a Lightning component. As you can see, it is showing me the title of the card as Rahul Malhotra's blog list, Rahul Malhotra apps list, and Rahul Malhotra sessions list, right? And here I'm getting a list of blogs, here I'm getting a list of applications, and here I'm getting a list of sessions, right? Similarly, I have different APIs that are defined. So the first API is sfdcstop.herokuapp.com/blogs. Second API is sfdcstop.herokuapp.com/apps, and the third API is sfdcstop.herokuapp.com/sessions. Right, and each of these three APIs is giving me some of the data. So let's have a look at the data in each of the three APIs. Right. So in the first API, I am actually getting an author in the response, and then I am getting a list of blogs. And each blog is having an ID, a title, and a URL, right? Similarly, second blog is also having an ID, a title, and a URL. Third blog is also having an ID, a title, and a URL, right? So this is the URL. Similarly, if I talk about the apps API, I am getting an author first of all, and then I am getting a list of apps where each app has an ID, a title, and a URL, right? So if I talk about the sessions API, similarly it is also having an author, and then it is showing me a list of sessions where each session has an ID, a title, and then a URL, right? So you can see that I have around nine blogs where each blog is having an ID, title, and URL. I have around three applications, I should say, where each application is having an ID, title, and URL. So this is the first application, this is the second application, and this is the third application object, right? And if I talk about sessions, I'm having a list of three sessions where each session is having an ID, title, and URL. So the format of each of the API is quite similar, but I'm getting different data. Also, in case of blogs API, I'm having a key as blogs. In case of sessions API, I'm having a key as sessions, and in case of applications API, I'm having a key as apps. Right. So we can see here that we have a list of about nine blogs, we have a list of about three apps, and we have a list of about three sessions. Right. Okay, so I'm just going to jump onto the code of Lightning component now, and we'll mainly focus on the callout part here, and we'll not focus on the implementation of Lightning component. But if you want to have a look at the implementation, or if you want to learn more about the implementation, you can just write down in the comments down below so that I'll create another tutorial regarding the implementation of Lightning component. But in this video, we'll mainly see how we are actually performing the callout from Apex and how we are getting the data in the Lightning component, right? Okay, so this is a developer console in which I have created an application. So this is the same application that I am previewing here. And inside this application, I have a component which is named as blocks continuation component, right? So blocks continuation CMP, I should say. So inside this component, what I have done, whenever this component is initialized, I am actually calling doInit method. And this doInit method is actually defined in my controller. So this is the doInit method which I am calling whenever this component is initialized. And this doInit method is actually calling helper.getData method. So the code above that is actually for setting up the columns of the data table that I'm using. But this is the main stuff. So we'll talk about the main stuff first of all. So this actually doInit method is calling helper.getData, and this helper.getData is actually responsible for performing a request to the Apex, and it is actually getting me the data from the Apex, right? So what is getData method is doing? It is actually calling the fetch data method from my Lightning component controller, which is defined. I mean, this fetch data method is actually defined in the Apex controller, which is linked to my Lightning component. Okay, so I can see here that inside my Lightning component, I have an Apex controller defined, which is blocks continuation Lightning controller, and this is the Apex controller I'm talking about, which is linked to my Lightning component, right? And what we are doing in the helper initially, we are actually going to call fetch data method of my Apex controller, and we are getting the data in the response. So this must be having a method named as fetch data. So this is the method that I'm calling from Lightning component whenever the component is initialized, and I'm getting the data in the response, right? And finally, what I'm doing, I'm just setting up some attributes and I'm showing the data in the Lightning component. So we are just going to focus on the main stuff first, but we'll see later on how we are actually parsing the data and how we are actually displaying the data as well, right? Okay, so let's have a look at the data that I'm getting in the response. So I have just added a console.log statement so that I can show you the data that I'm getting from my Apex method, right? So I just called the fetch data method from Lightning component, and this fetch data method is defined in my Apex controller, and I'm getting some data in the response. So let's have a look at the data first of all. So I'm just going to inspect this, and here we can see this is the data that we are getting in the response. And inside this data, what we have actually an object which are having three keys named as app data, block data, and session data. And inside the app data, I have an author which is named as Rahul Malhotra. So this is the author that I'm displaying right here. And then I have a list of applications in which each application is having an ID, title, and URL. Second application is again having an ID, title, and URL, and third application is again having an ID, title, and URL. So this is the first application with the ID, title, and URL. Second application ID, title, and URL. Third application ID, title, and URL. Right. So this is the app data that I'm getting. Similarly, in case of block data, also I'm having an author, and then I'm having a list of blocks, which is having 9 blocks in total, and each block is having an ID, title, and URL. So here you can see the list of blocks is also displayed. Similarly, in case of session data, I'm having an author first of all. So you can see inside the session data also I'm having an author, which I have displayed right here. And then we have a list of sessions where each session is having an ID, title, and URL that we are displaying right here, right? So I got to know that I'm getting the correct data from Apex, which I'm displaying here, but we'll focus on the callout part, and then we'll see how I'm actually rendering this data in my Lightning component, right? Okay, so what I did inside my Lightning component, I simply called this fetch data method, and I actually displayed the response. And in the response, I'm getting the data after performing the call out to the third party API, right? So let's have a look at the fetch data method, which is defined in the Apex. So this is the Lightning controller that is actually responsible for performing the call out. Inside this controller, what I have, let's have a look at the wrappers first of all. I have a single wrapper named as response wrapper, right? And inside this wrapper, I have three different keys. The first key is block data, second key is app data, third key is session data, right? So as you can see, in my wrapper, I have app data, block data, and session data. Similarly, I have app data, block data, and session data, right? So this is the response wrapper which I am actually sending in the response, which we are going to, I mean, which we are able to debug here, right? So this is the wrapper that I am actually sending in the response, right? And what is this block data having? This block data is actually an instance of blocks wrapper class, which is again a wrapper, which is having a author, and then it is having a list of record, which is named as blocks. And inside this record class, what we have an ID, title, and URL. So we got to know that inside my response wrapper, I am having a instance of blocks wrapper, and inside this blocks wrapper, I am having an author, and I am having a list of record with the name of blocks, right? So I can see that in case of my block data, I am having an author. Just give me a second. So inside of block data, I'm having an author, and then I'm having a second key which is named as blogs, right? So this blogs is having an ID, title, and URL. So you can see here that in case of my blogs wrapper, first of all, I have a string which is named as author. So this is the author, and next I have a list of record which is named as blogs. So my list name is blogs. That's why I'm getting a key as blogs here, right? and inside this list I have a record for each particular element of list, and inside record I have a ID, I have a title, and I have a URL. So inside each record I have an ID, title, and URL. Inside the second record also I am having an ID, title, and URL. So this is the list of records which is having a key as blocks, and also I'm having a different key which is named as author, which is having a string, right? So this is the first key, which is the list of blocks, and it is having a name as blocks, but it is a list of records. And then I have a second key which is named as author, and which is having a single author name, right? Similarly, in case of apps, I have a list of record also, because it is also having the same data, right? ID, title, and URL, but it has a name as apps, or the key name is apps. Similarly, in case of my sessions wrapper, I have a list of records, but it is having a key as sessions. So I can see here that in case of my app data, I am having a list of records, but because here also I have ID, title, URL, ID, title, URL. So these are actually a list of records. But in this case, I have a key as apps, and in case of my sessions data, if I talk about, my key name is sessions, right? So I'm using the same record class to create list for all three wrappers, but I'm giving different keys here. The key in case of blogs wrapper is blogs, in case of app wrapper is apps, in case of session wrapper is sessions, right? So I'm having different keys here, blogs, sessions, and in case of app data, I'm having the key as apps. So you can see here that all the data is similar, but I'm having an author. I mean the author is same, but in case of app data, the key of list is apps. In case of blog data, the key of list is blogs. In case of session data, the key of list is sessions, right? Okay, so this is all how the wrappers are defined and how I'm sending the data to the Lightning component. Now let's have a look at the callout that is being performed, right? So what I did from the Lightning component, I simply called this fetch data method, and inside this fetch data method, what I have, I am actually going to I'm actually going to create an instance of my HTTP callout async service class, and this service class is actually receiving two parameters. In the first parameter, I'm giving a timeout for my API callout, which is 40, and in the second parameter, I'm giving a list of string. So this list of string is nothing but a list of the custom metadata that I have created in my system. So let's have a look at the custom metadata. So if you have watched previous videos regarding HTTP callout framework, you must be aware of that when we install this framework in any org, we have a custom metadata that is already defined for us. So this metadata name is HTTP callout configuration. And if I have a look at the records of this custom metadata, I have three different records. You can see here. The first record is SFDC stop apps. The second record is SFDC stop blogs, and the third record is SFDC stop sessions. So I have just given the names of these custom metadata, which is SFDC stop blogs, SFDC stop apps, and SFDC stop sessions. So this is the names, which is SFDC stop blogs, SFDC stop apps, and SFDC stop sessions. So I've just given the list of names of my custom metadata, and inside each of the metadata, I have defined which API I need to call and how I need to call that API, right? So as you can see, in case of the blogs metadata, I have defined the endpoint as sfdc stop.heroku.com/blogs, and I've also specified the method as get. So it is actually going to perform a GET request automatically for me, and it is going to get the response, right? So what I did, I just created an instance of HTTP callout service, HTTP callout async service, I should say, because it is an asynchronous request. And I have specified a timeout in the first parameter, and I have specified the list of blocks, or I should say the list of custom metadata names in the second parameter. So this is a list of string that I have specified in the second parameter, right? And then I'm using service.sendRequest method to actually perform the callout or send the request, and I have specified the method name in the constructor, or sorry, in the parameter of this method, and this method name is the method which is actually going to deal with the response, right? So in this particular method, which is the fetch data method, we are just forming the, or I should say we are just performing the request, and that's it. And the response that will come from this API will actually get into this particular method, which is named as send response, and that's why we have actually specified the response method name in the parameter itself, so that system is aware that this method is going to handle the response, right? Okay, so the thing that you need to take care of when you are actually going to call it from a Lightning component is that whenever you are calling a component, whenever you are calling a method from your Lightning component that is actually going to use Apex concatenation to perform the callout, is that this method should have a return type of object, and this method should have aura enable defined over here with the two parameters, which is cacheable as true and continuation as true. Continuation is required because we are actually going to perform a continuation, we are actually going to perform asynchronous callout using Apex continuation. So that's why I have specified continuation as true. And cacheable is also true because this is also required when we are going to perform an asynchronous callout using Apex continuation. So this is the required stuff. Just keep a note of this, that this aura enabled, the method that we are going to call from the lightning component should have an aura enabled annotation with cacheable as true and continuation as true, right? And this method should always return an object. And what object it is going to return? Let's have a look at that. So it is actually returning an object which I am getting from service.sendRequest method. So let's have a look at the HTTP callout async service so that we have a better idea about this. So I'm just going to open this class, HTTP callout async service, and inside this class we should have a send request method. So let's have a look at the send request method, and this send request method is actually going to give me an instance of the continuation class, right? So this is the same instance of the continuation class that I am actually returning from this particular method, right? So this is the syntax of continuation that we are following here, and we have to write this method in a similar way. Whenever you are going to perform a call out to different API, you have to follow this particular syntax only. That the method that you are going to call from your lightning component should have aura enabled defined with cacheable and continuation as true. It should return an object, and what object it is going to return? It is actually going to return an object which it will automatically get from the send request method, right? So internally, HTTP callout asynchronous service is going to use the continuation class to perform the callout, but you don't need to worry about that. You just need to call the send request method, and you need to specify which method is going to handle the response, and you can simply return that, right? So that's all what you need to do in the method which is being called from the Lightning component. Okay, so now let's have a look at the response method. What this response method is doing, right? So this response method should also have aura enable defined, and it should have a cacheable as true, right? So inside this method, what we are actually having two parameters. The first parameter is a list of string which is labels, and the second parameter is an object which is state, right? So let's have a look at what these two parameters are doing, and we'll see how we are sending the response to our lightning component, right? So this send response method is actually receiving a list of string which is named as labels, and it is also receiving an object which is named as state, right? So let's have a look at what this label is for and what this state is for. So what we are doing actually in this particular continuation request, we are actually performing three callouts. So the three callouts that we are going to perform using continuation, each callout is automatically associated with a label, and we can get the response from all these callouts by specifying the labels that we are going to pass in here, right? So these labels are set for you automatically, so you don't need to worry about what's being set in these labels. But you definitely need to pass the labels that you are getting in the parameters here to the HTTP callout service get response method so that you can get the response, get a list of HTTP responses from this method, right? So what I have done in the send response method, this is the method that will be automatically called whenever I'm getting a continuation response. I have just created an instance of HTTP callout async service in which I have again passed the three parameters, which is SFDC stop logs, SFDC stop apps, and SFDC stop sessions. And I have also used the service.get response method this time. So you remember when we actually send the request, we use service.send request method, and now when we are getting the response, we use service.get response method, right? And I just pass the labels that I'm getting as a parameter into this get response method so that I can get the list of responses. Okay, so this state object is actually being used in case you want to pass some data from your method which is actually calling the API and your method which is actually receiving the response. So let's say you want to, because these two methods are different, and this method is actually going to call the API and then it is going to finish, and then this method will automatically is being called automatically whenever you are getting the response. So in case you want to retain some data, in that case we actually use this state. So I was actually not getting any particular scenario for this, so that's why I haven't used it now. But you can simply go to HTTP callout async service and you can modify the send request method to pass a state here along with the response method name, and you can just replace this continuation state with your own state that you have passed, right? So I mean, I'll also update it in case you want to use it, so that you can use it for further, right? So you can just pass a state as a second parameter right there. Okay, so this state is basically being used when you want to pass something from this method to this method, right? We'll be receiving the labels, so don't need to worry about the labels, but you definitely need to pass the labels that you are receiving in the first parameter in the service.getResponse method, and then it will return you the list of HTTP response. So this list of HTTP response is actually the responses that I'm getting from three different APIs. So these three APIs are automatically being called by using the metadata that is defined in my org, and I'm getting the list of responses. And then what I'm doing, I'm actually getting the body of each and every response from the list. So this is the first response from the list, and I'm getting the body of this response using the getBody method. This is the second response from the list. I'm getting the body of this response using getBody method again. And this is the third response from the list. I'm getting the body of the response using getBody method. And the first response should be of the blogs API. So I am using blogs wrapper.class to actually deserialize the JSON response, and I'm actually creating an instance of blogs wrapper, right? The second response is from the apps API, so I'm using apps wrapper to create an instance of that. And the third response from the sessions API, and I'm using sessions wrapper to create an instance of that particular wrapper, right? So here you can see the three responses from three different APIs, blogs API, apps API, and sessions API are passed here. And I'm actually constructing a final wrapper which is named as response wrapper. And I'm setting up the blog data, app data, and session data using the B wrapper, the A wrapper, and the S wrapper that I got above, right? So we can again have a look in the response wrapper class. I'm having an instance of blogs wrapper, apps wrapper, and sessions wrapper with the name as blog data, app data, and session data, right? So this response wrapper is having blog data, app data, and session data, which is nothing but an instance of blogs wrapper, an instance of apps wrapper, and an instance of sessions wrapper, right? Finally, I have returned this response wrapper in the response of this particular method. I mean, I have returned this response wrapper by just deserializing it into JSON, and this method should also have a return type of object, right? So the second thing that you need to take care about when using continuation is that the response method that you have defined in continuation should have a return type of object. It should be also aura enabled, and it should have a cacheable as true, right? And you can return anything from this method. I am just returning a JSON serialized string here so that I can simply parse it. So this JSON serialized string that is actually returned from this particular method is automatically being received here in the response when I do response.get return value, and I'm actually using JSON.parse to parse this JSON string. So this is the magic that is happening behind the scenes when we are using continuation class, because when we did a call from the helper, we actually called the fetch data method. So this fetch data method actually was responsible to perform the continuation request, and we got the response of that continuation request, all those three callouts in the continuation in the send response method. And this send response method is actually returning me something which I am getting in the response in the lightning component itself. So this response that I am getting here, it is actually not returned from the method that I called, but it is returned from the method that was actually receiving the callout response, right? And this return value that I am returning from here, it is automatically received by my lightning component as a return value from the fetch data. So all that is happening behind the scenes, and it is implemented by Salesforce when we are using continuation, right? So we don't need to worry about that. The only thing that we need to take care of, that this method should have cacheable as true and have an annotation of aura enabled. It should return an object, and it should have two parameters defined, which is labels and state. So state you can use if you want to use, but I haven't defined it right now. I'll update the framework later on, and I'll add an option to add a state as well. But I have already told you how you can set a state by just adding another parameter and setting up it right there. Okay, so we got to know that how we are actually getting the data from the Apex continuation, and how we are we are able to display the data that we are getting from the Apex continuation, right? So let's have a look at the implementation of the Lightning component and how we are displaying the data. So this is actually not relevant to the continuation class, but we are just having a brief look at the implementation of the Lightning component as well, so that we are able to see how we are actually rendering the data, right? Okay. So my continuation class is actually giving me a list of response wrapper. So just have a look at the continuation controller. Yeah, it is giving me a response wrapper that I am JSON.deserializing here, or JSON.serializing here, right? And it is having blogs wrapper inside it, which is having author and blogs. It is having apps wrapper inside it, which is having author and apps, and it is having sessions wrapper inside it, which is having author and sessions, right? So this is a sessions wrapper which is having author and sessions. So I'm getting the same data, app data with author and apps, blog data with author and blogs, and session data with author and session. And this app data, blog data, and session data variables are defined here, right? Okay, so what I did, I actually passed this JSON that I'm getting, and I got the data object. And inside this data object, I have a blog data object, I have an app data object, and I have a session data object. So I use the blog data object, session data object, and app data object to set up three different Aura attributes. The first Aura attribute is blog data, second Aura attribute is app data, and third Aura attribute is session data. So let's have a look at the Aura attributes now. This is the block data or attribute object, this is the app data or attribute object, and this is the session data or attribute object. And all these three attributes are having a type of object, right? Okay, so in order to display the blog data, what I'm doing, I'm actually displaying the author of my blog prior to this blog list. So you can see here that the lightning card has a title which is having an author as v.blogdata.author prior to the blog list. So if I look at the blog data, it is having an author key, and as it is of type object, I can simply refer v.blogdata.author to get the author name, and then I'm displaying blog list after that. So I'm getting Rahul Malhotra blog list. Similarly, for app data also, I am giving v.appdata.author. Similarly, for session data, I am giving v.session-data.author, right? So you can see here, the session data is also having an author key, blog data is also having an author key, and app data is also having an author key. So we are displaying the author names like the blog list author name, the app list author name, and the sessions list author name, like that. Okay, so we got to know how we are displaying the author names. Now let's see how we are actually setting up the first of all the columns of the Lightning data table, right? So in order to set up the column, I'm actually doing that inside the init controller. So whenever this controller is called on init of the Lightning component, this columns variable or the columns or attribute is automatically set, and these columns are having a label of ID, title, and URL. So you can see that this Aura attribute is named as v.columns. This is set with the label of ID, title, and URL for each particular column. So you can see here that this columns is of type list, and this columns variable is actually being used in each of my data tables. So in first data table also I'm referring to v.columns, in the second data table also I'm referring to v.columns, and in the third data table also I'm referring to v.columns. And this v.columns is nothing but a list of objects where each object is having a different label. The first object is having a label of ID, second of title, and third of URL. So this is ID, title, and URL. Second is also having ID, title, and URL. Third is also having ID, title, and URL, right? So now the question arises that my data is actually, I mean, if I talk about the apps data, let's have a look at the apps data. It is also having ID, title, and URL, but it is having an ID as small id, and the title also in small and the URL also in small, but the labels are different, right? So that is why we need to specify the field names whenever we are using Lightning data table. So this is actually for mapping of the data that I am going to pass. So here I am telling my data table that I am going to pass a list of data to display, and each object in my list is having a field name as ID, which is going to be mapped with this particular label, and it is having a field name as title, which is going to be mapped with this particular label, and it is going to be having a field name as URL, which is going to be mapped with this particular label, right? So as you can see here, ID, title, and URL. So this is my field name that I have specified in the columns itself, so that my data can be mapped very easily and it can be displayed right away. Okay, so what I did, I used blocks data, app data, and session data to map the three attributes. So we can see in the Lightning data table that for the blocks data table, I am actually referring my data attribute with v.blogdata.blogs. So as you can see here inside my blog data, I have two keys. One is author and second is blogs, right? We can see here inside my blog data, one is author and second is blogs, right? So I have specified my data as v.blogsdata.blogs, which is nothing but a list of blogs where each list is having an ID, title, and URL, and this list is automatically mapped to my data table by using the field names that I have specified as ID, title, and URL. So these field names are basically used to map the data in the data table that I am giving right here. So these field names should be the same keys that you are using in your data, because your data is also a list, right? So this is a list that I am passing out here, and this list have different objects where each object is having a key of ID, title, and URL. So this list is having different objects where each object is having a key of ID, title, and URL, so that it's automatically mapped with the columns of my data table. Okay, I mean, this is how the data is being mapped using my Lightning data table that I'm using out here. And apart from this, I have just specified the key field as ID for each data table, because we need to specify key field. And I have also hidden, I have also kept the checkbox column as true. So this hide checkbox column is actually used to hide the checkboxes that are automatically, that will appear automatically in Lightning data table when you are using that, right? Apart from that, I think, yeah, one thing we have also specified here, which is the type of my data. So in case you are having a number, you are having a decimal place data, so you need to specify the type of data automatically. So I have just specified the type of my data as text, because I'm getting the text data here, right? Okay, so just to give you an overview of everything that we have done till now, so I'm just going to give you a brief overview. We have created a Lightning component that is going to call a doInit method when it is initialized. This doInit method is going to set up my columns for Lightning data table, and it is going to call my getData method from the helper. Inside my helper, I am going to call my fetchData method from the Lightning controller, Apex controller for my Lightning component. So this is the Apex controller from a Lightning component, and this is the fetchData method that I am calling from the helper. It is going to perform the callout, and it is actually specifying the send response method. You can give any name here, it doesn't matter. So it is actually specifying the send response method that, hey, HTTP callout framework, you need to specify or send the response inside this send response method. So it will automatically send the response inside this send response method, from where you can pass the response and you can return the response. And the response that you are going to return from this response method will automatically get inside this Lightning component. And this callout is automatically going to be performed asynchronously, because you are using HTTP callout framework and you are using HTTP callout async service class, right? Apart from that, just be aware that you're getting proper annotations. So the method that is going to perform the callout should have these two annotations, otherwise it won't work. This is how it is defined in Salesforce, and we have to follow the syntax, right? And in the send response method also, it should have this or enable annotation with cacheable as true. And both the methods should return the object. You cannot change the data type, it should return the object itself, right? In case you want to use a state, well, I'll update this framework, because I just had a look at this state part when I was creating this video. But if you, in case you want to use that state by yourself, using the version of the framework that we have right now, you can simply pass the state in the parameter. You can just do some changes in the HTTP callout async service class to pass the state right here, and you can also receive the state right here, right? So the state is nothing but a way to retain the data in case you want to retain that. Okay, so the one thing that I want to specify, that here we were using custom metadata that are defined in my org, and we are passing the name of my custom metadata, and it is automatically going to uh, I mean make the request, right? But in this case, what we can do is, if you don't want to use the custom metadata, you can simply pass the list of HTTP requests as well. So as you can see here, I'm actually creating an HTTP request with a method as get and the URL as sfdcstop.herokuweb.com/blogs. I'm creating another HTTP request with the method as get and the URL as apps, and I'm getting another HTTP request with the method as get and the endpoint as http sfdcstop.herokuweb.com/sessions. So I can also pass a list of HTTP requests in case I don't want to use the custom metadata, or let's say you are using the custom metadata but you want to make some changes before actually requesting the third party server, right? So you can also pass a list of HTTP requests. That is also an option available to you, instead of passing a list of string, right? Okay, so the continuation class has a limitation of 3 asynchronous requests with the one continuation object. So that's why I have given a 3 continuation requests in the list. You cannot add more than 3, but you can definitely add less than 3 if you want to, right? Okay, so apart from this, I think one more thing was there that we need to take care about. So let's have a look at the syntax very quickly that I have defined here. So yeah, we have just the same similar kind of syntax that in your Lightning controller, you should call a method, and that method should be defined in your Apex Apex controller for the Lightning component, and the response method that it is going to call should have all these things enabled. So this is the syntax that you have to follow. So if you want to have a look at the syntax, you can just go to github.com/Rahul Malhotra/HTTP caller framework, where you can have a look at the syntax that you have to follow for Apex controller also and for Lightning component also, if you want to implement concatenation or asynchronous callouts using concatenation Apex, right? And you can also download, or I can say you can also install this uh, asynchronous demo in your own org by simply installing the HTTP caller framework first of all. So if you want to install the HTTP caller framework, you can just click on this deploy to Salesforce button to install it in your org. And if you want to install the demo for this asynchronous callouts, you can just go down the documentation, and you can click on this second deploy to Salesforce button, which will automatically install the demo for your asynchronous callouts using HTTP caller framework, right? So the first deploy to Salesforce button is actually used to deploy the framework, and the second deploy to Salesforce button is specifically if you want to deploy the examples. So it will automatically deploy both the examples regarding the Visual Force page also and regarding the Lightning component also. Okay, so that's all for this tutorial, everyone, and I think this is the last tutorial in simplifying the callouts in Salesforce tutorial series, because we have covered everything that was there in HTTP callout framework. I hope you like this video. Just let me know your feedback in the comments down below, and have a good day. Bye bye.